Welcome to the iNETrepreneur radio show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNETrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network, we're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, it's Robert Jones, and I'm here on Casual Thursday, the first show of 2021, and I'm really excited about being here and starting it all new. Each and every week this year, we're going to have different guests. We're going to have different information. It's all for you. The members of the iNETrepreneur Network and other entrepreneurs, business owners, and influencers who just want to get connected. This last year of 2020 is really, it's really been an emotional year this last year for me and my family. We've had to move. We've also moved our office. We've had kids rotating in and out of being in school or being online for their schooling, and it's affected our business, both in like wonderful ways, but then also in very uncertain and challenging ways. And as a father, as a husband, as a business owner myself, I have heard from many people that that they've had to more than just pivot. They've had to look at what we're doing now as the new normal. And when I think of a new normal, I think like, maybe it was time, maybe it was time for all of us who are entrepreneurs and business owners to start looking at business in a whole new way. For the longest of times, I've been in the internet world. I've built businesses. I've made websites, I've made media kits, I've been around a lot of wonderful and amazing professionals, and I learned from them all. And I believe in personal, associations. I believe in personal connections, and I believe, in being in person. But, here's the thing. With technology, we can do both. And sometimes, for the longest of times in my life, I've heard so often that, it's always at odds. We're in person, or it's digital, or which is better, or, how should I get my message out there? What should I even say? Am I looking at different audiences? And, each and every time I get back to is, the first thing you got to do is just look at what you're saying and who it's to. If it needs to be in person, well, you know what? It needs to be in person. There are some things. I just went to a dentist a couple of weeks ago, and believe me, that does not work virtually. They still have to get after my teeth. But there are other things that actually you can do digitally and actually works really, really well. But there's one thing I do know. Humans are very funny creatures. At the base of it, you may think you're not. Even people like me who are introverted, we may not think we're overly social, but deep down, we really, really are. And one thing I can truly think of in this last year, through all the uncertainties, all the challenges, and everything that I've been through as a family, and the pivot we made from going from an all in-person networking organization to pretty much an all virtual organization, where Shawn and I had for 3 days in a row convert everything through all our marketing footprints to let everyone know in our community that we've changed. But basically, even with all that said, there's one thing that I can hold on to, and it's really special for me. I've known so many people, and I know so many people with the iNETrepreneur Network family, the Network Together family, that I can call on and that I can rely on, and I can just have those conversations with, so I can move forward. Whether it's a hardship, whether it's an opportunity, or whether it's just someone I need to vent. We've all had maybe trouble at some time this past year. But you know what? At one time, Shawn and I sat down right before 2020, and we said, it's going to be the year of clarity. It is going to be the year of clarity. Yeah, but now I found it wasn't clarity for us. I think, the world told us what that clarity was going to look like. And the world said, it's time to move. And so I'm really excited that we have the iNETrepreneur radio show online here every Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. Don't ask me about Pacific, Mountain, East Coast, Central, and all that. I don't get all those time zones, but I know in Arizona we are on at 2:30 each and every week. And I am really excited that my first guest today is not only the CEO of the iNETrepreneur Network, but my lovely, beautiful wife, Shawn Jones. Shawn, I am so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Robert, for having me on.
I think a lot of the questions that we get, Shawn, it really is never about business. What we get a lot of questions is how can you work with the one you love? Is that not so, Shawn?
It really is. And living and working with your business partner and your spouse, that does pose a lot of challenges. But the key to it is setting your boundaries, making the clear lines, both in when you speak about business and you need to focus, answering calls, balance. When you're watching TV and you're with the family, it's not there to get the family together and then talk business. You have to be able to unplug and create that separation.
And it's been hard. I mean, I will say, along with everything else, Shawn and I we've been together over 5.5 years. We've been married twice. It's awesome, guys. A lot of you don't know that. So when we do Trivial Pursuit iNETrepreneur Network, just know we've been married twice, and those are just totally different stories that we could talk about at a different time on a different show, probably. But Shawn, I mean, you and I really have had to. We are both fiercely independent. We are both fiercely done my way or the highway type of people. And you and I have really had to learn how to bring ourselves together to not just raise a family together, because we're a blended family, but start working together. And what's one thing that you've learned that you could tell other entrepreneurs out there that it can be done? What is one thing that you've learned from our relationship that they can maybe even apply to their personal and their business lives?
Focus on what you're good at. That is the biggest takeaway. If you do not enjoy something, it is not in your wheelhouse, have somebody else do it. Focus on your key strengths and just go down that line, because even if you know how to do it, if it's not from your heart and your soul and your passion, it's going to make it twice as hard. And then it creeps into your personal life because you're grumpy all day about whatever it is that you've had to do. And with that comes trust. You have to have trust in your partner that they're going to pick up where you may let go, and vice versa. So trust that you both are playing on your key strengths, and whatever doesn't work for you, it's okay to say that's not for me and outsource it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been a wonder. I remember the first time that Shawn and I both had the epiphany. It was at one of our first very, very large events called the iNETrepreneur Expo. And we've had anywhere from, I don't know, Shawn, anywhere from 250 to 400 people come to these events, very well attended events. We'd fly in people from all around the country. It'd be broadcast live through Voice America, etc. So we've had some great events at some great venues. And I still remember one day we had a meeting before the meeting. We had the meeting before the event. And, our biggest conversation wasn't what we're going to wear, what we were going to say, what we're going to sell, how the event's going to be, and get all pumped up. Our conversation, when we looked at it, was this: who and when is going to have that mic? And and that was really the first step in Shawn and I starting to say, what, we can both be that person, but it's only through agreement that we can be that person. And then we can play with the mic nicely, we can play with the organization nicely, we can like playing a hand of cards. We're playing the right cards for what it is that we do. But a lot of people don't know you like I do, Shawn. And and a lot of people don't know about your background. They don't know, what companies you've owned. They don't know what jobs you've had. They don't know, that you were in corporate America yourself and actually wanted to get out of there. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So my background, I actually knew at a really early age that being an entrepreneur was in my blood. I just knew it. My first business was 8 years old. And I've tried working for corporate America, but I grew up in our family business having the freedom. But with that freedom, because of the nature of the industry, I was never able to let people know how young I was. I always had to speak and act older and know about laws and principles and so on and so forth. And so when you look at me from a business standpoint, I'm very blueprint, very linear, and I have to, because that's what I grew up knowing. I had to make sure everything was checks and balances. Trying to work into corporate America was great experience, but ultimately, because my superpower is being able to look at things in a quick snapshot of what works, what doesn't, what needs to be trimmed, what needs to be tightened. You know, when you work for somebody else, they don't always want to hear that. But being this entrepreneur, I've had many businesses over the years. My forte is starting companies, getting them to a certain point, either selling off the complete company or selling off the individual divisions. So along the way, I've served on lots of different charity organizations on boards, different chambers. I've mentored a lot of businesses to help get them to achieve where their goals are.
Yeah, and one of the things I also look at, Shawn, is there's really been a shift in how you look at business, small business, entrepreneur, small communities. I mean, really, you're a Vegas girl, and it's just like snap, snap, hop to it, do what I say, and if you don't do it, I'll fire you and I'll hire someone else. I mean, times have changed. It's not quite that immediate, and a lot of times in the business world, when you're in masterminds or you're working with other business owners, we're all moving at different speeds. I know, in certain ways, you've had to actually kind of calibrate your actions and start learning like business love languages in a way. And everyone's different. And how does that affect the way that you approach business and networking now?
I think the better statement is I've had to learn the difference between having your own employees that you pay to do services for you versus working with volunteers. That would actually be the biggest transition that I've had to learn, because there is really a delicate line. When somebody is volunteering their time, yes, they need to follow process procedures, whatever you set forth, but you have to be a little softer in your approach. You have to be a little bit more forgiving and understanding, because it comes from a place they're volunteering their time versus if you're paying someone, they're on your dime. So yes, being more flexible and trying to nurture somebody's talents has really been a huge aha moment for me. And through that, I've learned patience.
Yeah, and I've also seen that you've also gravitated to those entrepreneurs who are really just starting out in business, really kind of lending them advice and pointing them in the right direction, and utilizing a lot of the tools that the iNETrepreneur network has, and which we do. And as CEO, you're able, I mean, you're not this hands-off CEO that's just reading reports on a laptop on some island in the Caymans or in the Bahamas or in Fiji or something like that. You're actually a participatory CEO that actually is in the trenches with the team in membership and the business owners. You're always convenient. And I look at that a little bit, Shawn, and when sometimes when people get labeled as CEO, it kind of moves them in a different direction, but you did not do that. You took this CEO approach and said, I'm going to be a CEO of the members. And I really appreciate that myself. Tell us a little bit about why you feel so passionate about just the emerging and startup business owner.
I gravitate towards those that are looking to become entrepreneurs or take their businesses up several notches. And I do because I know what it's like to start companies from the ground up. I know what it's like when you have people that are surrounding you going, you can't do this. Why would you do this? Oh, you're silly for making this choice. And there's a lot of negativity when you tell people that I'm going to start a business for the first time. And it's amazing how many of those same people, once you do start showing that, hey, you're capable and you're hitting and you're achieving, that they go, oh, well, I knew it all the time that you can do it. No, I love those people that are just starting, because they're not stuck in old habits. They're more open and receptive to learning, to being guided, to taking recommendations and advice, versus someone who has had their business for years and years and years. A lot of times they don't want to change. They're comfortable in their setting. So yes, if somebody's a startup or they're really looking to make changes in their business, those are the people I love to work with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying that says you can't really fill a cup that's full. And I know if the cup is really, really empty, those are the ones that are going to, fail forward. And I love working with entrepreneurs like that as well. But I also see that you do a good job with those seasoned entrepreneurs, because you also take a different approach that I've noticed, and it's like mentorship. You say, hey guys, success leaves clues, and if not the change for you, let's help these other entrepreneurs. We are the backbone of that economy. And I've heard you say that several times to our community, and that really kind of, brings people together. But we've just got through 2020. We're now into 2021. As the CEO of the iNETrepreneur Network, what does the future of this network look like in the CEO's eyes?
Well, we've definitely positioned ourselves over the years, and it's just been leading up to it, that we are on a global scale. Starting out in a small little tiny farming community to now being across the United States, having members all over, being that we have community members in 12 different countries. We've just really exploded. We had, prior to COVID, already targeted to open up our online segment of our community. COVID just transitioned the whole platform. But we're gradually reopening things in person. It's afforded us the opportunity to really get our book out, The Art of Connection, our magazine, going through radio, coming up on TV that will be next on our plate. I mean, to go from a little tiny networking group to an omni-channel community for entrepreneurs where they can be seen and be heard. They can get picked up on other publications because they took what they're learning from others, their mentors, their coaches, from us. They're putting it to good use. So there's only one way, and it's just straight up. And this year marks our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, 10 years. I mean, it just has flown by so fast. And, and we're really, Malcolm Gladwell has a book called The Tipping Point. We're really on that tipping point of explosion. And, last year we were in no other country but the United States. And as you said, we're in 12 countries and over 25 different states. We have chapters also opening up all around the country. You talked about the radio show, the magazine, the book, the education academies, the meetings, the events. We're back to having over 1,000 meetings and events per year. It's like, if you can't get business in a network like this, you shouldn't be in business, because there's enough of that out there for you. But, Shawn, before your segment ends, just a couple of thoughts on, what is omni-channel? Tell us a little bit more, what does that mean? Because it's such a daunting word. It's like omni-channel. It's like, wow, it sounds like it's coming from outer space, but it isn't. It's really about what we do in this organization. What does that look like?
So for omni-channel, what we've done is we've created ways for entrepreneurs to reach business to business and business to community through personal, traditional, and digital ways. And that does tie into all the opportunities that we have, including speaking on stages or on radio shows or podcasts. Through our channel, we have the connections and the ability to take our community and put them in other people's spaces to where they're really expanding their network, their influence, and being able to serve larger quantities of communities.
Yeah, and I want to add to that just a little bit, because a lot of the times, people get coached. They do. They get coached, and it's just like, well, let me help you write a press release, or let me coach you to get on a radio show, or let me help you with your presentation, or let's prep for you to go on to a station like this. And what I really like about our member community is they have access to all of that, including being printed in a magazine or being in a book, all within their membership. And I think that that's one of the wonderful things, is because not only, do our members have the ability to have access to that, right, Shawn? They ability to talk and discuss with each other, successful things that other members are doing, because this learning isn't singular learning. This learning is learning as a team, and we all help each other. And I think that that's what I really love about the iNETrepreneur Network. Shawn, that's what I really, love about you and what you're doing. Plus, what? Show them your heart. Show everyone your heart. Do you know? No, your red heart. You're wearing your heart. There you go, everyone. That's Shawn her heart. Well, thank you so much. I have her information here. Shawn, go ahead and go on. Just, one last, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
The best way, give us a call, 602-228-0907. You can look us up on Instagram, all of our LinkedIn. Our social media handle is iNETrepreneur Network. If you're on Instagram, it is iNETrepreneur Referrals. And, send us an email, give us a call, send me a DM on one of the social media channels. We're always here to serve you.
All right. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you so much. Thank you, Robert. All right. Well, that was Shawn Jones, the CEO of the iNETrepreneur Network, and I accidentally just cut her off on her thank you back to me, but she says thank you to everyone. She's awesome. She is that blueprint person. Believe me, she finds every dot over every I and every cross over every T. But I have another gentleman that I have coming on here. He is our member liaison. His name is TJ Watson. TJ, I'm excited about having you on the show today.
Hey, super excited to be here. Thanks, Robert.
Hey, you're welcome. TJ, I'm going to actually go to a kind of a recent situation that you and I've had. And, we've gone through, a local tragedy of personal friends of ours. In Phoenix, Arizona, because I know we have people that watch all around the world effectively, but in Phoenix, Arizona, one of our venues called The Hub had an unfortunate incident, and we had to move to a different location. And there was a tremendous amount of outreach, for The Hub, where we have met for over 4 years. And, when we were meeting there, TJ, we were talking about really the impact of relationships and the impact of networking that has been a part of your business's life. Tell me a little bit about, the impact of the Hub and the situation, and how they're a part of our family, and how networking and having an organization like the iNETrepreneur Network has affected your business.
Sure. So the Hub was instrumental to me beginning with networking. It was a place that was close to our retail store, Bits and Bytes Computers, that I could break away from the office, go to meet up with other entrepreneurs, and be there for them to, help refer them out, do business with each other, and then likewise for myself. And so when they became a sponsor of Network Together and allowed us to do that, immediately there's a sense of gratitude. And so what we wanted to do when, things happened with them and their facility had burned down, is we wanted to try and support them the best that we could by continuing to network within their organization, because it has transformed our business. I mean, we are, since starting networking, probably up close to 20% each year. And that's directly attributed to that and sponsors like them. So what we did is we moved locations to another restaurant that they own. And we just launched our first meeting there yesterday. And I can't tell you how happy the members were to have a place to meet safely in person again.
Yeah. And I think about that. I mean, to go through the year 2020 with the uncertainty and the challenges that COVID has presented, even some of the social things that we've seen out in the media, et cetera, it has hurt restaurants entirely. One of the reasons why, as an organization, we like meeting at restaurants, because it really is about supporting, a community. I mean, to me, one of the best ways of getting to know someone, whether it's dating or whether it's a new business relationship, is just breaking bread, between each other in a safe place. And having partners like the Hub Restaurant, who's here locally in the Phoenix area, and also the tap, the Union Tap and Grill, we've been able to support them. And, I think that that's what I really love. But, TJ, you haven't always been an entrepreneur. I mean, you've held several jobs. Tell us a little bit about your background before you actually started in Bits and Bytes Computer.
Sure. Yeah. So like most people growing up through school, I worked restaurants and odd jobs. And working for other people was something I enjoyed, but I always had this niche for making it my own. I always had to play in that gray area, if you will, and so I knew right away that there was something more for me out there. I just didn't know exactly what it was. And like you were saying earlier, Robert, about pivoting through 2020 and making adjustments that, sometimes things just happen for you. That's exactly what happened for me. I had lost my job as in the middle of buying a house and decided that working for other people wasn't working out so well. So from there, I decided, what, I have the people skills, I have the determination, and I'm going to build something for myself and see where it takes me. And so today we support multiple families, as employees. We help countless organizations in the Valley, several nonprofits, American Legions, VFWs, local law enforcement. We do a lot now, and it's all because life just sort of sometimes happens for you and sets you on the path that you were destined to travel.
Yeah, and you do things differently at Bits and Bytes Computers that I've seen that some kind of tech oriented organizations don't do. I mean, you do have a storefront. You do place yourself at what we call like a swap meet area, but you still go out there and network and create partnerships and affiliations and create the relationships. And see, one of the things that I feel like I see because of that is when it comes to your company, you guys are very much more service oriented than what you would see in many other tech organizations. And I see that you've become a leader of not just the tech part, but actually the social aspects, that tech people should probably follow your lead, follow your blueprint. And I really, really, appreciate that. But, you talked a little bit about networking in business and what it means for your business. And I know that for a while you got away from networking for a little bit. And, we had that conversation. You're like, what, I miss it, and I miss the business. It was like, you got both there. And then you're also, I believe, the president of a local Mustang group as well. And you said, kind of leading leaves clues as well of success. Tell us about, how you've been a leader within the iNETrepreneur network and how it's helped you with leadership in your Mustang club.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So it started off as just, I won't say just, but I started off as a member and, what was just networked together at that time. From there, moved up to showcase chair. So, that was more connecting with other members, getting them on the calendar, finding out what their business was. And then from there, I was offered a board position with Network Together as member liaison, which is great because I'm the link between, yourself and Shawn and the members. So I know a lot of what's going on in the background. I'm essentially the voice at the big table for the members out there who feel more comfortable coming to me. And that works out really, really well. It's nice to have a go-between, that buffer, if you will. But then I've always been a car enthusiast, Mustang specifically, and I had a hard time finding a club that really felt like home to me. See, I've always been a people person. I've been about that family connection, that relationship, if you will. And so I didn't want to just join some club where, people were just spinning their tires and walking around with their chests puffed out. And so I found an organization, actually helped develop one here in the East Valley called the Arizona East Valley Mustang Club with another gentleman named Steve Rashevsky. He's actually the president. I'm the vice president. So with that, again, I started as a member. He saw what I brought to the table and thought, what, I like your leadership skills. And a lot of those I learned through Network Together, the iNETrepreneur network. We have classes and different ways that you can, build yourself up through personal development. That's one of the unique things about, your company, Robert. And that's been able to help our organization. So now we're the largest Mustang club in Arizona. We help multiple nonprofits. We're talking House of Refuge. The Alzheimer's Association is a big one. We just had a show where we raised $7,000 for them and 100 Mustangs came out. And so it's like all the things that I've learned and networked together have been setting me up to be successful in everything else that I'm doing now.
Yeah, I think that's, I think it's great to talk about that, because there's no better, to me, there's no better testimonial than personal development. Because I always say, so much of the time, and this is one of the things from the networking component, we have all these other channels, to market and promote, a company or yourself. But really it boils down to, so much of our time is on what we do, but not who we are. And, some of the things that I really see in you, TJ, and what you bring to the table for our membership is you do what I say. Hopefully I'll do what I say too, but you do what I say. And that is, you have to have your heart set before you can go out there and work on your mindset. Because, it really isn't your head that makes you go, I'm going to do it 2 more hours, but I'm exhausted. It's like the beating of that heart that says, I am just going to do it till I get it done, and I'm going to get it done right. And you exhibit that. You take the time out to listen, and I really, really, I love that about you, and I think that's great. But in the year I can't even believe I'm saying this, in the year 2021, here we are. We're looking at, here, there's a whole new day opening, a whole new month opening, a whole new year opening. And I feel like the possibilities are almost endless. And I know with your company and what we're doing with the iNETrepreneur Network, I can see this as a great space for you. So, in your role in leading different members within iNETrepreneur Network, what are some of the things that you see yourself as in how you're going to just grab hold of leadership and take kind of like members by the hand and kind of show them down the path to success? What does that look like, TJ?
Yeah, so naturally in this position and just my nature in general, people tend to gravitate towards me. They tend to say things to me personally that they wouldn't necessarily say in a large group. And those things are things that are needed to be said. It's something that needs to be heard in order to find the right path to succeeding in their own business. So, for example, we may have an individual in the membership who says, you know what, TJ, I'm just starting off my business. I've been doing this for 3 months now, it could be 6 months, and I'm just not getting traction in it. And my problem is that I know that if I have enough money to purchase this platform or align myself with these people, that's what I'll need to take it to the next level. And so then it's my role as a leader to help them achieve that. So I'm not going to just pull money out of my account and give it to them, but maybe I can connect them with someone who's a venture capitalist or someone that can give them some capital that'll look at their business plan, and be able to get them on the right path to success. That's one example of leadership. Another person may want to know about, hey, you own a computer company where you're dealing with the public every day, one-on-one, you're dealing with people remotely, you have employees who are relying on you. How do you manage all that? Like, how are you able to delegate responsibilities so that you're not always overloaded? Because TJ, I am completely overloaded with my business and I just want to give up. And so that's where I can step in and say, listen, I've been there. Here's what I did. This is what's going to work for you.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I know we have meetings, short meetings each and every week. Being on the board, a lot of what we implemented with the organization itself is because of the board and the members themselves. And being in that position, we don't say that we're a member-led organization and take that lightly. We listen to our members' needs, and it's the old Marine adage, you improvise, you overcome, you adapt, to an ever-changing environment. And God knows the last year was an ever-changing environment. And but look, I mean, it pushed us to do things, and I am blessed to have you and Katie and a whole supportive community that helped inspire us. I mean, we could have laid down and said, why are we in this? Why are we doing this? But instead of just laying down, we actually exploded out. And if it wasn't for you and Katie and other members and facilitators like you guys, yeah, we wouldn't have another issue of the magazine coming out. We wouldn't have a book that went international. We wouldn't have, a radio show and the training academies and open houses and all these spectacular things. I mean, to me, business owners, and I know they'll never listen to this show because they're all right here. but my goodness, it's so much more beautiful to be able to see through other people's eyes and share an experience. And my dad always said, you don't have to make every failure yourself either. There's enough people that put their hand on the hot burner, and they tell you that burner's hot and you'll burn your hand. Learn from them. And that's what I like about having people around us. It's like you and I, we get to have that water cooler talk, and every time we talk, we walk away, and I always feel like I've learned something, I can implement something, and I'm going to do something differently with that conversation. I hope you feel the same way.
Absolutely, Robert. Every single time, it's like, why don't we do this more often? It just works.
It does. It's like, okay, let's get the show on now. You're right. We're over there, and it's just like we could do that.
I mean, what did we say in the parking lot when we left lunch on Monday? It was, hey, let's do this once a month.
Absolutely. So let everyone know how they can get a hold of you and Bits and Bytes Computer to get the best computer service and the best value for their computer products. I think this side of the Mississippi and that side of the Mississippi, or whatever it's called. Tell us a little bit more how to get best a hold of you, TJ.
Absolutely. So we're available multiple ways. If you want to call our store directly, it's 480-380-5340. But we're also very responsive on social media. You can check out our Instagram at Bits and Bytes Store, or our Facebook page, facebook.com/Bits and Bytes Store, and connect through us through Messenger there. Always happy to help, and whether in person or remotely.
All right. Well, TJ, thank you so much. TJ Watson is our member liaison. I like that word, member liaison of the iNETrepreneur Network. Definitely feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions about computers and computing, and also if you have any questions about the iNETrepreneur Network. TJ, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Robert.
Well, that was TJ Watson, the owner of Bits and Bytes Computers. I mean, hey, if you're listening from California to France to Argentina, I mean, you know what? The computer prices, just look at the exchange rate. He still has the best, and he will answer your questions on any Skype or Google Zoom call. Next on our show today, I have one of my favorite other blueprint-ish type of people in my life. She is our executive director. She is Katie Evans. Katie, welcome to our show.
Hey, Robert, I'm so glad to be here. I love that I get to get lumped with Shawn as a blueprint. She and we speak the same language. I love that girl.
Yeah, and I love that you guys speak the language, because you know what? I love being the fly in the ointment, because I'm the one who always just messes it all up. I think you and Shawn talk about it. It's just like, you guys made the best laid plans, and Robert always gets to come jingle and jangle it up a little bit. But I think that's what really creates the excitement. It's like,
I was going to say, it's never any fun unless there's something exciting happening. So
right, so I get to explode everything up, and then you guys get to help put it back together like an architect design build company or something like that.
Right. Always better the second time anyway, so it's all good.
Absolutely. Well, Katie, it's just been again, like I'm going to reiterate what it was like. I mean, 2021, is the new year. It's the new month. It's the new day. There's so much excitement about it. And I still remember looking back 2019 going into 2020, and I felt the same way. 2020 was just going to be a new, exciting year, and there's going to be so many things happening. And I look back at it and I like, oh my goodness, there were so many challenges. Oh my goodness, there was so much uncertainty. Oh my goodness, there was so much change. Yeah. And, but, really, what do they say? If it doesn't kill you, it'll just make you stronger. And I've had enough of my family members say it's just giving you character, and I'm like, no, I already have enough character. I don't need any more character. I'm done. Stop with the character, okay?
Right, absolutely.
But Katie, you have a special place in my heart, and a lot of people know of you, but they also don't know who you are. And before you were a realtor, before you were on the board and the executive director of the iNETrepreneur Network, and of course Network Together, you really have always had a fondness for teaching. You've always had a fondness of standing up there and creating a blueprint for others. Tell us a little bit about your background, prior to being a realtor.
Yeah, so prior to being a realtor, actually, I went to school to be a high school English and drama teacher. I loved both of those subjects in high school. And I got into my college program and absolutely got destroyed in my English program. Just hated it. Ruined reading for me for years. And so I kind of floundered about a bit in school and college, and landed in a family science degree with a specialty in early childhood education, which also allowed me to walk away with a teaching degree. So I went from planning on teaching the older kids to now teaching the really, really young kids, and did that for just a very hot minute, right before and during my one and only daughter's first few years of life. And then got the opportunity to kind of do some fun odds and ends jobs and take care of her and be a mommy and work with my husband and all that kind of fun stuff. And one day my husband came home to me and said, you know, I'd really like to start a company. I think I can do it better than the company that I'm currently working for, and I would like your support in that. And so naturally, I jumped right in, and we started a company from scratch, grew it from nothing to over $1 million in the first about 10 years. And we actually were directly connected with home construction during the Great Recession. And so the reason I'm proud of the fact that we actually were able to retool, rework, and we maintained our profitability during the Great Recession when we were directly tied to construction and all those things that we watched across the nation just tank. And so we actually were able to keep all of our employees employed and all of that. Now, coming out of the Great Recession, I was a little burnt out. I didn't want to do that anymore. My husband had that company really managed very well with our other business partners, and I kind of wanted to try something new. So long story short, I ended up in real estate. It was kind of a fun journey to get here, but I have loved every minute of it. I love that I get to continue teaching people. It's a different kind of teaching, but everything that I ever learned in my college education, I have absolutely put to use in my real estate career, and I love it. I love helping families with this particular purchase.
Well, Shawn and I trust you. I mean, for many people, or at least for most people, I mean, the home is the most valuable asset that they'll ever have or own. And, you need to make really great decisions. And, I know that there's a lot of companies out there and they're trying to go into more of this digital realtor type of thing. But, what I found is if you go with the digital realtor and they just give you this price, they really leave a lot of money on the table. Not that that's for the show, but it goes back to, another saying that I know you say is, every family has a realtor in it, or two or three. And, but, it's like real estate and investing. We have the Real Estate Investing Academy, and Stuart Gethner, our leading instructor, says this, and I really, really listen to him. There's a difference between someone who's a real estate investor. There's a big difference between someone who invests. I should say this. There's a big difference between someone who invests in real estate and someone who is a real estate investor who looks at it with the entrepreneurial hat on.
Yeah.
And see, that's one of the things that I like about you, Katie, is because you don't look at, selling real estate as selling real estate. You actually look at it as the wraparound services that go with it. And you look at real estate as not as a role you have, but actually as a full service, function, or a full service business. And I think that that's what's really amazing about it. Now, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of your retooling, your reworking from the Great Recession, but I think it also really pulled you out, from success leaves clues with this crazy time of 2020 in real estate. So, tell me some of the things that you have applied and reapplied, in your business, now that you've learned from before and you even learned now, that's just created this whole new inertia for you and your company.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's how important our homes are to our families, and how they've now changed to be something completely different than they were in 2019. We're talking about now we have like in-home schools, and we have work from home, and we have all of these different things. So I would say if there's one lesson that I learned from both the Great Recession and from this last year in 2020, it's that when things change, they tend to change really, really quickly. and you need to be aware of what's happening around you so that you can meet the needs of your clients. I'll give you a perfect example. The week before they shut down the state of Arizona, I had a brand new listing that came onto the market. Darling older elderly couple that had already vacated the home and moved into a 55 plus care community. So they were gone. I needed to get this house sold for them like ASAP. Did my normal open house. They had already announced that they were going to shut down our state on Monday. I did my open house on Saturday, and we had like maybe 3 people come through, like where I was used to having 20, 25 different people come through the entire time that we were doing this. Like nobody was there all of a sudden. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is happening? We have got to figure this out right now, because I've got this darling little elderly couple that needs this house sold. And I don't know what's going to happen here with this pandemic and the shutdown of our state specifically, but the nation as a whole. And so we had to really, really quickly figure out, okay, how do we do virtual showings? How do we do online tours? How do we do online open houses? How do we do all of these things? Well, the wonderful thing is even though that pushed me into something that I was a little unfamiliar with, and I got comfortable with it really, really quickly, these are great tools. Like these are fantastic tools. Like I will continue to use them even after we don't have to be separated and keep each other apart for social distancing and everything. These have come to be wonderful, wonderful tools within our company. We were able to get that house under contract within 3 weeks. So it took me about a week longer or so than I had originally projected, but we got it under contract, we got it sold, and their family, and they were so grateful that it was one of those moments when you're like, this is why I do what I do. I love helping people on this level. So I have learned some great lessons, and if you're willing to look at where you're at and be real about the situation that you're in and what's happening around you and be a problem solver, there were so many wonderful things that came out of 2020. There really were.
Yeah, in one of the things that I've really seen is sometimes, and we're all made differently, Katie. I mean, we really are. Every business owner, every entrepreneur, every influencer. I mean, so many differences. And one of the things that I see is I call it the curse of success. And sometimes you really can get to a certain level of a success where it doesn't really necessarily bring you happiness like it once did, because you found yourself at the content level.
Yeah.
And you run your business as the level of like, well, I'm not unhappy, but you're not really striving with that passion and that I'm gonna be the best. And it's like great, because it's like you get to that level of, well, I'm successful and everything's working, and you get to the level of content, and that's where my worry comes in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and really one of the things that I've seen in this past year is for a lot of businesses, it really took the mindset, right? Their mindset, even their heart set, from a place of like, oh my goodness, I'm not content anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have my lead generation's not, giving me leads. My phone isn't ringing anymore. People aren't coming to my open houses if you're a realtor, et cetera, et cetera. And it really challenged, what I call the content conundrum.
Yeah.
Where you get there. And I think for not everyone, because we're all made differently, I feel like this 2020 really said, you know what, I'm going to separate those who are really doing this out of passion and those who aren't. Because it really seems to me that the entrepreneurs that are still standing right now are the ones that are like, man, I don't care if it's raining the cats and dogs. This is what I love, and I'm going to excel at it. And, and those who are like, kind of on the fence and they were kind of content, they're successful. They're like, you know what? Hey, I better learn or I'm going to get burned. And, and again, and that's what I really like about, the iNETrepreneur community, and as the executive director, you put in place a lot of your, really your life and business skills to help lead and train and teach and care and fill in and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about your role as executive director in the iNETrepreneur Network.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, what a privilege it is to work with you and with Shawn and with TJ. Guys are three of my most favorite business people out there. Like truly I enjoy working with each one of you and I learn so much from each one of you. So having this role is a real privilege for me. My role really is, again, sort of like TJ's role. TJ and I work hand in hand with each other so that we can be the liaison between the general membership and you and kind of the executive team. So my job really is to work more on the executive side, helping to put together like some of our educational pieces, kind of making plans for the future. Where do we see a need within our membership? And TJ is wonderful to bring a lot of those needs back to us so that we can then kind of figure out what do we do as an organization, what do we do to bring more value into the lives and the businesses of our community, of our membership, and what are the best ways for us to do that? What tools do we have at our disposal? How do we organize this? How do we set this up? What class can we teach? And those are all the great things that I get to have my little fingers in with you guys and help bring those items to our community. And I, like you said, I'm a teacher at heart. I've been a teacher from the beginning, and I love being able to share what I'm learning, what's working in my field, and I love learning from other people so that I can utilize it in my business. And as a community, we have such a great group of people that are all like-minded about that. So we're very giving, we're very sharing, and so being able to pull all of those resources together so that, two minds create three. That's part of what I get to do, and I love getting to do that. It's awesome.
Well, Katie, it's so funny you bring that up because I don't know if you really remember this, but I remember a few years ago when I was hatching this idea of what I wanted a networking group to look like when it was just a networking group. And I always felt like, entrepreneurs do things out of need or necessity, and sometimes both.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of the times, entrepreneurs will go to these networking groups and, each and every week they do the same thing each and every week. And then all of a sudden a year later, they're doing each and everything the same way each and every week. And all of a sudden they look back 3 or 4 or 5 years and they're like, why am I still doing these things each and every week?
And wondering why nothing has changed.
And then, and so I mean, and I remember the quote that says the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah,
and I remember I love, I graduated from the Arizona School of Real Estate and Business. I used to be marketing and media over at realtor.com. I love I love real estate. And I thought, well, if anything, at least we have that in common. I don't know if you're going to, take on this role or not. And I remember sitting down and talking to you, Katie, and here's the story. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember the first time I reached out to you and I started talking and I said, you know what? Yeah, we're looking for someone to teach and train. And then I started going on this long dialogue and you just kind of looked at me and you were like, kind of like, you don't need to say anymore. And I'm like, well, why? And you go, you had me at teach and train.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. You did. You said that you had me at teach and train. And you were like, you didn't know I was a former teacher, credentialed teacher. And I said, I had no idea. And you were like, this is perfect for me because you said, I feel the same way, to get ahead. And so, one of the premises that we have is entrepreneurs need access to quality people, quality information, and, boatloads of inspiration. And I think that we do that as well. So in your role, of course, as the executive director, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to in this next year in your role and what we're doing? What does your little crystal ball look like?
Oh my goodness. Well, I really feel like 2020 brought to the forefront how much great technology we have available to us. Now, I am like, let's get together, let's shake hands, let's give hugs, high fives, all that kind of stuff. I do actually a lot better in person. So I prefer those meetings and I can't wait for them to come back. And I'm grateful to see some of those starting to come back. That's going to be wonderful when we can start having our big events and our big things again like that, where we can hit more people. But in the meantime, I am super excited by the fact that we have these new platforms that we're trying out, these new ways of teaching and educating. So those of you who've been a member of our community know that I have been heavily involved in the education portion of the iNETrepreneur for years now. And so I'm really excited what we're doing with some of our old classes, how we're reworking them and retooling them. And I think they're going to be fantastic. And I'm really, really excited to be a part of all of that. I'm excited to see now that our membership is also kind of stepping up and being willing to share their expertise, and we have these platforms and these methodologies for them to utilize. I'm excited to see what they're going to teach all of us. They're going to teach the rest of us. So I think that's probably some of the most exciting thing. I don't know if you realize this, Robert, but when I joined at the time what was Network Together and has now become the iNETrepreneur Network, one of the major attractions to me was that I walked into a meeting, and for the first time it wasn't all commercials and member presentations, but there was an educational segment. And I walked away from that meeting going, not only did I just get to network with a bunch of really cool people, but I learned something about being a business owner, about being an entrepreneur, about how I can do stuff better within my business realm. And that was super exciting to me. And so it's been always really near and dear to my heart to make sure that we as a community kept that as one of our important focuses. And so that's what I see in my crystal ball for 2020. It's just more of that.
Well, your crystal ball is spot on, because one of the things that we found, Katie, as well is, when it comes to an entrepreneur, they know they need to sell more. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, they know they need to market more. When it comes to an entrepreneur, they need to know how to read their financials better. When it comes to an entrepreneur, they need to know how to get into digital media and to get into new media. But here's the thing, we're a coach's best friend, because many times people are told to do that in many ways. But one of the things that I look at is, process. And it's not just knowing that you need to market more. It's not just knowing that you need to sell more. It's not knowing that you need to read your financials better. I mean, people need a blueprint, right? There's that blueprint, or a process on how to do it, because knowing is not enough.
Yes, that's correct.
Knowing is not enough. And what we do differently in the iNETrepreneur Network is, you're right, we create paths for entrepreneurs, not just to say, hey, Joe or Jen, you need to market more. No, here is how you market more. This is what push marketing will do for you. This is what pull marketing will do for you. This is what changing your messaging will do. This is what, looking at your mission. Is it correct? Are you using the right words? And we get to practice that with each other. And to me, classroom learning is so much more fulfilling than individualized learning, because someone else is asking the question you didn't even know to ask. And, that's where we grow as a community. And that, that brings me to the excitement of 2021, but it also brings me to the excitement of, oh shoot, this is almost the end of the show, believe it or not. So Katie, I mean, you are just like, love you. Just you and Jason are just great. And that's what relationships do. And I brought Stuart Geffner on, as I talked about him a little bit earlier, and we kind of have this running things. It's like, never go in business with a friend, but always create friends from who you do business with. It's such a tastier way, of creating harmony through life. But let everyone know how they can get a hold of you. I have your information scrolling across, but what are other ways, or what are the best ways to get a hold of you?
Best way, so that number that's on scrolling there is actually my cell phone number. So call or text, whichever you're most comfortable at. That's 480-415-1341. And then I'm going to give you my website, because everything else can be linked to through my website. And our website is www.living48realestate.com. My favorite place to connect with people is on social media, and we are on everything. So if you like what we've talked about today, if you want to learn more, our social media is all about educating people and sharing ideas and best tips and tricks, and just lots of really, really fun and good stuff there. So I think you'll enjoy following us on social media. So that's where I'd invite you to is come check out our website, connect with us on social media. We're here to be a resource, no obligations. We just are here to give. And we know that within by giving, we're always going to get back.
Well, Katie, what can I say? I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I hope I made it somewhat fun and not all blueprintish. I hope I put a little squiggle in there for you. And I look forward to having you on a show again sometime. Let's make this like a quarterly habit, and we'll do a state of the network or something like that, and have TJ and Shawn on here. I really enjoyed myself as well today. So thank you very much for being on our show.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you for our audience that came to our show today. I know I kind of made it more of a fireside chat with Shawn and Katie and TJ today, but I just wanted to kind of start off the year differently. You know, if there's anything that I've learned from 2020, you know, is to think differently, to do differently, to adapt differently, to just live differently. So, you know, thank you guys for being on the show today. Remember, we are here each and every week, every Thursday, Arizona time, from 2:30 to 3:30. If you'd like to be a guest on this radio network, just contact me. I'm Robert at networktogether.net, or you can go to the website, networktogether.net, to get our information, or our new website, iNETrepreneur Network. Thank you for everyone for being on the show. Have a good week.
You've been watching the iNETrepreneur Show, a production of the iNETrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.